How we doing, guys?
Can you start with a bit of an update on Cooper's status and what sort of time frame you might be looking at with him as far as working back into practice?
Amari Cooper? Yeah, we'll just see. He might practice today. He was moving around fine out there in the walkthrough, so we'll just see as the day progresses. If he doesn't practice today, we're off tomorrow, and then hopefully we can get him back out there on Tuesday.
Jason, when you have the young guys really scrimmaging there at the end, bringing the backs to the ground and all, and tackling, is the playbook for them pared down, or are you going to throw everything at them and still to see how they react to all the things you throw? Are you going to try and see, okay, this is what we've taught you, can you take that to the field and make it work?
Obviously everything that we put in is up for grabs, but you're certainly, the objective of the deal is not to try to trick them. The objective is to try to see them play football in a live type situation. So, you're balancing, exposing them to different parts of the installation and just giving them stuff they're comfortable with so we can see them play fast. So that'll happen on both sides of the ball, and you strike that balance and they'll have 10 or 12 plays, and hopefully we'll get a good feel for where they are.
We talked a little bit about Zach Martin yesterday, but with him and where Travis Frederick is coming back, and you always want to spot Tyron here, does that impact how much you play them in the preseason? I mean, do you want to kind of hold them out till toward the end, or?
Yeah, we won't get into the preseason rotations. There's nothing, really revolutionary about, what we're going to do this year. Typically we have a progression of playing time for all the guys. We have some specific plans for guys coming back from an injury or whatever the case might be. So, we'll detail that stuff as we get closer to the ball games. But I don't see anything unique or different with how we're going to approach it this year. The goal is to try to get guys ready to play in that first regular season game, and you try to do that on the practice field. But you have to use these games as an opportunity to help them get some feet underneath them and get themselves ready to play football.
I know the actual scrimmage is much more about some of the younger guys, Jason, but in general terms, what do you tell your team on a day like today that you want to see from them in this afternoon's work?
Yeah, you want to see a lot of different things. If you really want to boil it down, we want these guys to play physically. It has to be physical today. It's a scrimmage. It's the first time we're really going after it. So you want to see where you are from a physical standpoint, and then the execution standpoint. It's really simple. You got to execute ball plays, and everybody's got a job on every play, and see who can do their job on a consistent basis, play in and play out. I think the other part when you get into these situations, and the scrimmage part of it, is how they respond to success and how they respond to adversity. Because ultimately that's what happens every week in the NFL. The guy across from you is good, the other coaches are good, and you're going to have some success against them, you're going to have some adversity, or you're able to go to the next play. So that applies to everybody on our team. It'll be interesting to see some of the young guys over the course of the day to see how they respond to the ups and the downs.
You talked about that sometimes you have to have balance in practices. You don't want the offense winning all the time, defense. But yesterday when you went back and watched the 7-on-7, it seemed like defensively your secondary really held up well against the receivers and what Dak and them were trying to do against those guys.
Yeah, I thought they had a good day. I think if you look at the day before, the offense probably had a better day, and I think if you look at different parts in practice, it probably went back and forth. So again, that's a little bit what I'm talking about, is the idea of how do you respond to that success, how do you respond to that adversity. That's going to be part of everybody's performance every week. And my experience is the best players and the best teams are able to go to the next play, learn from the experience, put it behind them, and move on, and play that way. And over the course of the game, hopefully you have a chance to impose your will on the opponent. And so those are the situations we're trying to create every day in practice.
What's line one for a young receiver that's learning to play in the slot? What's the top priority at that position?
Oh, I think at the end of the day, production and how that relates to being quarterback friendly, and how that relates to being able to get open against man and zone. There's a lot of detail in that, but ultimately as a slot receiver, you want to be someone the quarterback wants to go to. He trusts. You can win in critical moments to keep drives alive. You have to be smart. You have to be savvy. the looks when you're inside are maybe a little bit different than the ones you get outside. You got people coming from inside of you, you got people coming from outside of you. They play you differently, inside leverage, outside leverage. Sometimes you get doubled from the secondary. So being able to process all that information and still present yourself to the quarterback in a way that he's comfortable with, I think is a really important part of playing that position.
What was the best thing Leighton did last year?
Just came in and played. For rookies, the thing that you're always concerned about is them thinking too much and playing indecisively and not really sure of themselves. And typically we draft these guys, particularly if we draft them in the first round. There's a lot to like about how they played in college. There's ability, but you also like their identity that they've established. So when they take the next step, and they're playing against better players, maybe more challenging schemes in more challenging situations. Do you see the smoke coming out of their ears, or can they settle in and play? And I thought he picked things up really well. He's a really smart player, and he was very dedicated in trying to get himself up to speed quickly. So even though he was in and out of the lineup, he had some injuries that he was dealing with in the early part of the offseason and training camp. He processed things quickly, and when it was time to play, he played. We saw Leighton Vander Esch. And I thought he got better and better the more he played throughout the course of the year.
Is that the reason why all the things you described, why his learning curve appeared to be very small, as opposed to sometimes you throw rookies out there and they're trying to kind of feel their way? Was his learning curve just kind of what you were talking about?
Yeah, again, I think he's a smart player, a very instinctive player in college. He had a good feel for the game, has athletic ability. He's not uncomfortable in a lot of situations on the field. All those things help. But he's a dedicated guy, and he worked very hard at learning what he needed to do, and then he was able to take that from the classroom to the practice field and ultimately to the game field. Not perfect by any means. He'd be the first to tell you that, and he got better and better as he went. But the approach was right, and he played fast, he played decisively, and he certainly had an impact on our defense.
How was Pollard looking early in camp, and not just as a runner, but what do you envision him being able to do for you on special teams?
Yeah, getting better and better. He really is. And he, too, is a smart player, and he's handled a lot of information on the offensive side of the ball. The running game, the variation that you have in the passing game, whether you're protecting or running routes, I think he's handled that stuff really well. He, too, is someone who continues to play fast. It doesn't look like he's not playing to his speed because he's thinking too much. So I think that's been positive. These guys make huge strides day after day after day. The reps are so valuable to them. So, being able to be out there and take advantage of these reps, I think, is big. He certainly will be someone who competes for us on special teams, both as a returner and as a special teams player. We saw that on tape coming out of school. He's working very hard to do that well also. So he's made a lot of strides in a week's time. It'll be fun to see him today.
Special teams player, I see him rushing the punter. You learn anything about this toughness? Did you know about that toughness part about it? Because people look at him as a returner, but you guys are using him as a rusher.
Yeah, you never really know about someone's toughness till you have them up close and you have them in game-type situations. But that's certainly one of the things we liked about him, watching his college tape and getting to know him coming out of school. Just was a football player, and you saw it on tape. You saw him run inside. You saw him run outside. You saw him return kicks. He did a lot of different things, and he never appeared to us as being a finesse player. He always appeared to be a tough football player as he did those things. So we've certainly seen that up to this point. It'll be fun to see him today and on into the preseason to see if that continues to hold up.
You keep loading the wagon with him until you see that you can't load the wagon. You have to be mindful of everybody wanting him to be a part of their different packages and stuff because of how talented he is.
I think with all the young players, you try to expose them to different parts of your team. And you're aggressive with the installation. It's the third time he's seen it on offense, third time he's seen it in the kicking game. So hopefully he's getting it down and he's getting more and more comfortable with it. At some point with those guys, you say, okay, let's focus more on this and less on this. But, he's a young player, and we need to find out about him and see how we can handle all these different situations.
He didn't return punts in college, but would you like to see him do some of that during this preseason?
Yeah, maybe at some point. I think that might be to Brian's point. You got to be careful about doing too much with him. But he's certainly handling a lot of stuff up to this point. And again, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see him this afternoon in the blue-white and as we get into the preseason.
We spend a lot of time talking about Dak and his intangibles and leadership. Was there a moment for you, since you've been with him, where that sticks out, that you say, man, this kid really gets it in terms of just his leadership and how he acts?
There have been so many moments with him. There really have been, and it really started in the process of evaluating him prior to the draft. And just the interview was very memorable to me, and challenged him on a couple things from his past and just his accountability and how he talked through those situations as a grown man who looked you in the eye, shoulders are back, this is what happened, this is how I dealt with it, this is what I've tried to do. And we all looked at each other and said, damn, this is the kind of guy you want as a leader on your football team. And I can give you countless examples from rookie minicamp through training camp. Then he gets a chance to play that rookie year, how he handled all the ups and downs of that. Just really pretty remarkable. And his ability to connect with people is unique. And the best leaders I've been around in all walks of life have that. The offensive guys, the defensive guys, the young guys, the old guys, guys from the north, guys from the south, just anybody. And, you guys feel that as you talk to him as members of the media. He just has this very unique way. And anybody you bring out to the practice field afterwards, hey, Dad, can you say hi to my family? This is my cut. Hey, comes right over. He just has this great way about him. And he was raised really well. He's a really good person. And I think that comes out. That comes out in his leadership and how he connects with our football team. And, again, we're lucky to have him.
What does it say about the San Diego trip that he organized when he got those guys together? What is that? I mean, I don't know if they had a script out there or they're running through, but guys were saying like it was practice-like. It wasn't just getting together.
Yeah,
to get together.
it goes to what he's all about. It's what we've seen from day one. And again, I have countless and countless examples of those kinds of things, so that doesn't surprise me one bit. How he does things, first-class manner, and then the purpose of it. What's the point of it? To get better, to get with the guys that I'm going to get to work with at training camp the next week, and we're going to go out here and we're going to get something done. And it's not for anybody else. It's for him and the group and for our football team. And he's a very authentic guy. He's a very genuine guy. Really positive impact on everybody he comes across.
Cole Beasley's been a little critical of the franchise since he left, and he recently said that he felt somewhat disrespected while he was here. Does it bother you or disappoint you when some of your former players do that, or you just kind of...
Yeah, I have nothing but respect for Cole Beasley as a person, as a football player. Had a very positive impact on our team, and I really wish him nothing but the best. All right, good to see you guys.
Good to see you, Coach.
What's that?
5 favorite Mark Wahlberg films.